Hi, everyone. Welcome to a long overdue project update for the GNU Radio Project. My name's Josh, and let's get right to it. All right, first we want to talk about events coming up. So we have a few to discuss. The first being European GNU Radio Days. So this is happening at the end of August, August 27th through the 30th, and in Darmstadt, Germany. So this is going to be at the Fair Particle Accelerator. So a very exciting venue. Typically, this event's held in Paris, but because of the Olympics, Ralph and the team at Fair have offered to have this event in Darmstadt at their facility. So registration for this event, go to tickets.gnuradio.org, and for more information, see the call for participation, event information, events.gnuradio.org. So I just want to talk a little bit about the event. So this is going to be both a technical conference, technical presentations, any work being done in the SDR field. Doesn't have to be necessarily GNU Radio specific, but the call for contributions is open. You can see the guidelines there. But another big aspect of this event is GNU Radio 4 block coding party. So the idea is to have the team at FAIR who've developed this core code that is becoming the basis for GNU Radio 4, and some other folks from the community be able to sit together and develop some blocks and build up the capability of GR 4.0 so that sometime in the near future we can release this with a good amount of functionality and get it up to parity with GR3 in the future. So this will be a great opportunity to work with the developers of GNU Radio 4, and also a great technical conference as well. So there's going to be, keynotes, talks. Let me just open up the page for this. So if you just go events.gnuradio.org, it is conferences, European GNU Radio Days. So let's just take a quick look. So the program, so the conference is going to run Tuesday through the Saturday with the tutorials, the block coding party happening on the Friday and Saturday. So this is a notional schedule. We're going to have keynotes, talks, lightning talks, tutorials, lab tours. I've personally never been to a particle accelerator, so this should be exciting to see what goes on, see what that looks like. So hope to see you out there for this. And then the call for participation is on here as well. Call for contributions. Well, that's not great. But take a look at the site. Call for contributions. You can submit your abstracts right here through this website. So take a look. Another event that, of course, we're excited about is GRCon 24. So GRCon 24 happening in Knoxville, Tennessee. And if you've never been to Knoxville, it's a great city, and the event is going to be right downtown at the convention center. So the convention center is right there, nestled between downtown and the University of Tennessee campus. So if you're out at the University of Tennessee, please join us. We have discounted student admission. I think students can join for the week for $100. Thanks to our sponsors, that's a great way to be able to get more students to join and get interested in GNU Radio, present their SDR work, and student presenters, of course, come to the conference for free. So if you know any students, if you are a student and you have work that you'd like to submit, please, our call for participation is open. Not just for students, for everybody. So present your technical presentations, papers, posters. If you have an idea for something else at the conference, like breakout session, you can submit that as well. And it's open we're about a month out from the deadline here. So now you don't have to submit a paper in order to do a technical presentation. And the bar for submitting an abstract and saying what you're going to bring to the conference is pretty low. A few hundred words will suffice. And let's just pop open the GNU Radio conference site. Again, this one is gnuradio.org/grcon24. Want to highlight a few things about the event. So the technical track, main track, starts on Tuesday. So we're going to have 4 days of main conference here. The expo hall with our sponsors, our vendors, will be demonstrating their latest capabilities. And then we're planning right now 2 social events, one on the Wednesday night and one on the Thursday night. And these are going to be exciting. One is going to be held at the Sunsphere, which is the most prominent thing in the Knoxville skyline. So we're going to have that up there, a catered event. And then another event we're going to have at a bowling hall. So that should be exciting. Nice way to mix with the SDR crowd that comes. It's a great group of people. I enjoy this one every single year. It is the highlight of my year. So if you want to submit an abstract, right here, submit new abstract. Couldn't make it any easier. And we of course are grateful to our sponsors. So we're starting to get sponsors now. Now that we're getting closer to the conference. So our diamond sponsors, we have Edis Research, NI, and also Aeronia AG, both makers of SDRs and various test equipment. At the gold level, we have Epic, who's been a longtime sponsor, as has Peraton Labs and Deepwave Digital. And at the silver level, we have Redwire Technologies, another maker of SDRs, local in the Knoxville area, and a new sponsor, Amona Timms, who makes some academic SDRs. So exciting to see their products and have new sponsors. So if your organization is interested in sponsoring, please let us know. You just email right here, grcon@gnuradio.org, and we will get you set up with all the info. You can look at sponsorship opportunities right here, and also volunteer opportunities. If you're interested in helping out at the event, just let us know. Lots of ways for you to contribute. I think that's it for GRCon. One more event that I'd like to highlight is taking place in October in France, and it is the Radar Conference 2024. And the reason I want to highlight this one is because you see this last sentence down here. The Best Open Source Experiment Award is co-sponsored by the IARU and the GNU Radio Project. So they are looking for experimental setups using open source software and hardware platforms and SDR based. So take a look at their call for participation and see if this is something that you might want to contribute to. It's definitely a good way to get your open source work out there. So let's talk about releases. Our contributors and our maintainers have been very busy. So thanks to Jeff Long for his very timely quarterly releases that go out. 3.10.9.2 went out in January, and then like clockwork, 3.10.10.10 went out in April. So the reason I want to mention 3.10.9, that is the release that will be going into Ubuntu, is in Ubuntu 24.04 now that that's been released. So if you have Ubuntu 24, apt-get GNU Radio, and you get a very recent version of GNU Radio. So that's exciting. And then more bug fixes and features went into GNU Radio 3.10.10. There's one I want to highlight here. So let's go to the releases page. If you look at 3.10.10, there is the new Qt-based front end is there. Now, it is not the default GNU Radio Companion, but if you launch GNU Radio Companion by typing GNU Radio Companion --Qt, you can try it out. So we encourage everyone to try this out because this is the path forward with GRC. We're moving to Qt, and we want to get fully up to parity with the GTK-based GRC. And the more people use it, the more we find, the more we can fix and get it where it needs to be. So this is thanks to Hakan V, who did this work, and other contributors I don't want to leave out. But a bulk of this was funded by ARDC in a grant that we'll talk about in a bit. So I just don't want to leave out that information. 3.10.10, the new GRC is there in the release. Right, and of course there is Volk releases. Go to our releases pages to see more information there. Volk 3.1.1 and Volk 3.1.2. So again, thanks to Johannes and the contributors here for getting these releases out and keeping everything working and functioning. So a lot of our development work the last couple of years has been due to this ARDC grant that we received in March 22. So I want to talk through some of the items, what's in progress. I don't have, won't go through all the details here, but the general idea of the grant was to make GNU Radio more usable in amateur radio and educational environments. So a big piece of having GNU Radio work in especially educational environments is having native installers. Not everyone wants to either use Linux or install Conda, which Conda is a great way to get GNU Radio working on Windows or Mac. That has been a kind of a boon to the ecosystem thanks to Ryan Voles at Haystack. But one of the things that can further broaden our footprint is having native installers, and especially with out-of-tree modules. So the vision here is that you can, from our website, automatically generated through CI, there will be like in GNURadio.msi, you double-click, installs GNU Radio like any other Windows program, and then if you have some out-of-tree module like say GR Satellites, you double-click grsatellites.msi, and it installs that on top of GNU Radio, and whatever the analog for Mac is as well. That's the vision, and we have engaged with Kitware, the makers of CMake, to do this. And I don't have specific updates on the status, but that is some of the work hopefully coming soon. More work coming out of this grant is ongoing software maintenance. So our issue tracker got a bit backlogged over the last few years. It happens, and a lot of the bugs reflect things that have since been fixed, or things we don't plan on fixing, or things that are easy to fix that we can knock out and clean up the issue tracker. So Marcus Mueller has been working on that and going through the issue tracker, getting things organized and trying to pare down that number of issues.
Hi, Marcus. How's it going?
Hi, Martin. Great. Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I was just looking at the issue tracker, the GNU Radio issue tracker, and I thought I'd call you up and ask you a couple of questions because I heard you've been working on this.
Yeah, sure.
So you've been tidying it up, closing some bugs, and yet when I open the issue tracker, I see 423 open issues. Like that seems like a lot. Maybe you can give us some context what's going on there.
Yeah, that seems pretty overwhelming, doesn't it? But actually, if you look at these issues, you see that there's basically things that are labeled bugs and things that aren't, right? And if you filter by label of bug, then you see it's a lot less. So we should be around 150.
So let me do that. I'm going to click the label button. So anyone can do this who has access to our public GitHub tracker. So let's look for the bug label, click that. And you're right, we're down to 135 issues. So this seems like a much more tractable number of issues. It's still a lot, but it's not, compared to the overall code base of GNU Radio, this seems pretty, well, at least this is somewhat tractable.
Yeah. So you also see that some of these have a priority label on there, like that I think 6 from the top is low.
Yeah, it's low. Here we have high.
The other one is exactly. And basically what we did is put quite a bit of work into labeling the issues that came up in the last couple of months, including closing out like really old ones that affected prior code versions that we could verify are no longer applicable to the current state of things. So this should actually be quite kind of doable in the sense that we now know what we can work on first, and we can invite people to help us there.
That's cool. And then these other labels, they sort of identify the area of code. But okay, so we have these bugs. So, but what about feature requests? So let me clear this filter here. So if I want to see feature requests, I can just click here. What about these issues? This is even more. We have more of these than we have bug reports. Like what happens to those?
Yeah, this is kind of a sign of a well-working project, right? People are using the project and they realize they need something to be changed or something to happen, something to be added, and they write a feature request issue, which is exactly what we want people to do, because as long time and common and professional or core contributors, we often lose track of what everyone needs. So we rely on people actually saying, hey, this should be done, this should be added, and that's something where people could actually help the project a lot by properly categorizing their thoughts on what is missing and writing them down, and of course also going through other people's feature requests and refining them or telling them, yeah, that's the same that we need, or I don't think we actually need that because you can do this the other way and would make more sense, or something like that. So that's an easy way to help us.
So if I'm really interested in having a message board for setting a vector in a vector source, then I should go open this and say, hey, I also like this, or give it a thumbs up, or anything like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I just mentioned like ways of helping the project. You see the purple label there, the good first issue one. We do that on issues where people are invited, especially if they're beginners, to help us. So these are things that we assess should be doable with assistance from the project for a beginner to the code base. And we'll be more than willing to help people there. So, yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned the good first issue. And also you mentioned that people should come in and tell us about their own demands, or if they're interested, also if they're not interested, if they think there's something is not a good idea. Are there any other ways that people can help with the state of the issue tracker?
Of course, if that's the same for bugs, right? If you see someone posting a bug report, or you encounter something that you consider a bug and you search the issue tracker before posting your own bug, of course, it's very appreciated if you go in and say, okay, I can reproduce this, or I've looked at this and it's the same for me, or it's not the same for me, especially helpful, because that means that if I drill down, and if someone drills down and tries to fix that, they know this is something to do with differences between systems. So this is very appreciated, helping, looking at issues and helping assess them in both their importance, their and their scope.
And of course, people can submit bug fixes themselves.
That would be that would be, of course, the best.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Marcus, for taking the time. Is there anything else that we forgot that we should mention?
No, I don't think so right now.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for helping contribute to this issue tracker, and thanks to Marcus.
Some of the other ARDC work we mentioned, the GRC work has completed, and so now with GR3.10.10, you can type GNU Radio Companion --QT and use the latest version there. So again, we encourage you to use that. As part of an earlier NumFocus grant, Wavewalker DSP developed tutorials on our wiki that step through the process of installing, using GNU Radio, very usable examples to demonstrate what you can do with GNU Radio. So as part of this ARDC grant, these are all being updated to the latest versions of GNU Radio, as well as adding content and making our tutorial section even better. So stay tuned. We'll give an update when that work is completed and we can step through the tutorials. So that's a very positive thing for the project. So another related work, we have engaged with Bailey Campbell to improve our documentation infrastructure. So the goal of this effort is to bring all of the sources of our documentation to render automatically to something that is, visually appealing, consistent with our website, and also looking forward to GR4. How are we going to get that documentation in place in a way that's consistent, automated, easily updatable? So we'll have more information as this work progresses as well. And related to GR4, we have also engaged with Danny Estevez to create a packet modem example. So this is very important, in the wireless communications world. how do you do a packet modem with GNU Radio? Well, we know how to do it with GNU Radio 3. Lots of people have done that. There's good examples. But with GR4, there's kind of some different paradigms of how packet processing works, how the scheduling works. We really want to demonstrate the power of GR4 going forward. So the idea is to create something we already know how to do in GR3, do that in GR4 as an example for other people to be able to generate applications and use GR4. So more information coming up on that. This work has just kicked off. So wanted to bring an update on a conversation that we had in the last project call, which was licensing GR4 as LGPL. So to be clear, the code that is going to become GR4 that is coming out of FAIR is currently licensed as LGPL. So that was a decision that group made for a lot of very valid reasons. And so the decision we had to make is, as we inherit this code, do we relicense that to GPL v3 to match what's in GR3, or do we leave it as LGPL and build around that? And so, that's a difference in licensing. So we wanted to do our due diligence and reach out to the community. So we reached out to the community in several ways. On the mailing list, we put out a call on this project call, and we also reached out to all the recent and prolific contributors of the past through GitHub to see what kind of impact this would have. So we just want to know, if we went to a more permissive license like LGPL, not all the way down to MIT or anything, would this make you not use GR4 essentially? So all of the feedback that we got was either positive or neutral. Some people prefer GPL v3 and some people prefer more permissive licenses. We got that feedback as well. So we see LGPL as a compromise, and it opens up some opportunities for GNU Radio to work in environments that it was hard to do with a GPL v3, especially the core and the runtime. We're hoping that it opens up opportunities with especially enterprise and commercial users of GNU Radio. So just some of the feedback that we got. Having the core be LGPL might improve interoperability with non-open source applications. Adopting the LGPL license could encourage more enterprise developers to contribute, more commercial users, the more support GR might receive. So industrial and government co-use of GNU Radio. So these are all, you sense a theme here. And, we don't want adoption of GNU Radio to be a stumbling block to people that are wary of the GPL v3 license. But that being said, I still want to reiterate that we are not relicensing GR3, nor code that comes out of GR3 and goes into GR4 will also stay as GPL v3. So your derived work will be dependent on what code out of GR4 you are incorporating into your work. So if you're just using the core and not using any of the old GR3 blocks, it's possible for you to make your derived work an LGPL work. But if you're taking in, lots of things that, the cool signal processing blocks that came out of GR3 that are now part of GR4, well, that will be GPL v3 because we're not relicensing that stuff. So it opens up opportunities, but you need to seek your own legal counsel as to how to apply licenses. I'm not a lawyer, nor is anyone on the in the leadership of the project. So that's the update. Another effort, not an effort, this is an initiative in the EU. It's called Public Money, Public Code, and we were made aware of this and happily signed on to this because the sentiment of this initiative is to say publicly financed software developed for the public sector be made publicly available under a free and open source software license. That's awesome. As an open source project, 100% this is what we believe. It's a shame when you see government money going to pay for code that either stays with a particular company or, just gets hidden away somewhere. So this we signed on to this. So if you go to this publiccode.eu, you will see, you go down to see the organizations that signed on. There's GNU Radio right there. So it's a big list, thankfully. And hopefully this movement attracts more attention and gets some traction. So we encourage you to sign on yourselves. Individuals can sign the open letter, or if you have another project organization, please reach out to these guys. It's a very good initiative that we fully support. So some updates to our website, thanks to Mark, mostly theming, but also fixed some of the confusing pieces of it in the process. If you go to GNURadio.org, you will notice our website looks much more modern, much more readable. So I'm going to do a little A/B here for fun. So here's our old website. It's looked like this for a long time. There's not a lot of contrast. It's just starting to look a little old. And also there's, separate blog and news. Never knew quite how to separate those particularly. But if you go to the new website, it's shinier, it's nice. Here's news, includes news and blog together in one spot. And there's an additional section, which I want to talk about in a bit more detail. We're trying to develop a list of organizations that are using GNU Radio. So this helps us in terms of, we want people to know how prolific GNU Radio is in the SDR community. We talk to lots of people at GRCon, other events, and we know that there's lots of organizations using GNU Radio. And so saying here that you use GNU Radio helps other people to adopt it, helps it get adopted on, grant applications, different projects. So if you have an organization and, you're able to have the authority for us to use your logo, or the right people to talk to, please reach out to us. Mark at GNURadio.org, or talk to, or info, that's the general address that goes to a few people, info at GNURadio.org. So if you want your organization listed here, it really does help us, and we want this to grow. So we didn't make a broad call for this list of organizations. This was just reaching out to a few people over chat. So we hope to make this list grow tremendously and be really reflective of who is using GNU Radio in the community. So as always, GNU Radio is organized around teams. So internally, we have a General Assembly. So that's the general leadership organization. But then we have teams focused around the different aspects of the project. Development of 4.0, like future architectures, GRC, our user interface, documentation, SIGMF, Volk, GRCon events, lots of work goes into here. Thanks to Sam for leading this effort. Infrastructure, Andre leads this. In fact, let me, if I go back to our website, if you go About and then Leadership, you can see these different groups and who's involved with them. If you would like to be a part of one of these groups, please reach out to us. Info at GNURadio.org is the place to get us. So as always, also our website, our wiki, YouTube, chat, that's not exhaustive. We're also on socials, LinkedIn, Twitter, I think Facebook maybe. But reach out to us, stay engaged, and we love to hear feedback, info. Any questions you have, please email us, hit us on Twitter, any of the socials. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.